Hello everyone and welcome to SUGTalks. I'm Craig Dale, your host, and together with our special guest, we'll take a deep dive into the topics, challenges and opportunities facing SAP users today. Please make sure you do subscribe so you don't miss any of our future episodes. I'm delighted today to be joined by Emel Morris, CIO of Central Bedfordshire Council. So welcome, Emel.
Thank you. Hi.
Lovely to have you with us today. And in today's episode, which is the latest in a series of interviews with senior leaders in the world of SAP, we're going to chat about Emel's career, highs, hopefully not too many lows, tips, and for getting ahead and any challenges you may have faced. So just before we get into that, Emel, I'd just like to ask you, if you could swap jobs with anyone for a day, who would it be?
Gosh, there's a question. There's many people that I would pick.
While you're having a think, I'm going to go with the first thing that came into my mind. I think the King's butler. I'd like to see the comings and goings and what really happens behind the doors of Buckingham Palace or something like that. Yeah, I'm going with that one.
Right, well, having watched the Singapore Grand Prix over the weekend, perhaps Toto Wolff, and to enjoy life from the pit lane on the pit wall there yesterday would have been extremely interesting.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic, isn't it? I mean, there's so much data they've got to comb through, isn't it? And make decisions as the race is going on. Yeah, wow, I like that one. Maybe, I don't know whether you were at Sapphire a couple of years ago when Toto Wolff was there. Maybe you could have just given him a nudge and say, how about swapping one day? A day in the life.
Yeah, I maybe if you get him back, I'll definitely come along and pose that question to him.
Oh, well, thank you very much for that, Emel. And just to start things off on our main topic of conversation, which of course is you, could you share a little bit of background about yourself and I suppose what led you to a career in IT?
Yeah, of course. So I am now the CIO at Central Bedfordshire Council, as you mentioned earlier, and I'm responsible for technology, digital data, and the customer here at this local authority. And the journey has not been a straight one into IT. So, unlike many CIOs, I don't have a deep technical background. What I bring is experience of communications, engagement, change, and transformation. So I started my career in corporate communications. I've always worked in local government, but in the communications arena. And I transferred into IT as a business partner. So really to help manage the reputation and the engagement between the IT service and the rest of the organisation. And the role kind of grew from there, really. So understanding what matters to customers, what the priorities are, and being able to translate that into strategy and outcomes that can be delivered by the IT service has stood me in really good stead. So I started this role in 2019. It's been a really interesting journey, and relying on lots of people across the department and organisation, and tapping into areas of expertise to deliver a great service for officers of the council, members, and ultimately for residents as well.
Oh, wow. Well, I can imagine that was maybe the baptism of fire after a year when COVID hit.
Yeah, I mean, we'd never really tested the load on the system at all. And I don't mind telling you, it was somewhat of a sleepless weekend on that Friday when we left the office and knew that we were all going to be working from home. But we'd invested in technology. We had quite a forward outlook. We were already prolific users of Teams across the organisation. We were set up with mobile devices as a policy way before COVID. So we were well set up to respond to the working at home challenge. And I'm really pleased to say that everything did come back up on that first Monday and remained up and in full working order. I think the challenge was really around engaging the team and with colleagues across the organisation to remain connected. And so doing things slightly differently was really important, really trying to think outside of the box in those interactions with colleagues.
Oh, fantastic. I suppose that, on a different note, that whole, I suppose, digitisation of services from government, be it central government and local government, I can imagine that forms a huge part of your role.
For sure. And, digital transformation is a conversation I'm having with colleagues on a daily basis. Many of the pressures that local authorities are facing are financial, or they lead to ultimately financial challenges. And so services are looking to do things differently, to do more for less, to deliver in a more cost-effective way. And that means digital transformation, which can be really hard, particularly for those people-facing services. We're not selling insurance policies. We are dealing with people in really complex and challenging circumstances. So we really have to think carefully about how we apply digital to that space, because ultimately we can't do everything at arm's length. There is absolutely a need for us to be close to the communities that we serve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fantastic. I can imagine that just, it drives what you mentioned: communications, engagement, change, transformation, that background moving into the IT arena, looking after, as you say, the technology, digital offerings, data, the customer. So what I suppose are your key priorities that you're focused on a day-to-day basis?
So on a daily basis, I've got to put cyber at the top of that list. It's a huge area for any organisation, as we've seen. The issues facing Marks and Spencer's, the Co-op, Jaguar Land Rover, to name but a few that have appeared in the media. It's a really big deal, and the impact on services we're seeing laid bare in those stories that are breaking globally. So cyber has got to be at the top of that list for me, and everything that we do leans into that with a lens, looking through the cyber lens of how we can protect the council and the services that it delivers. But there's some other priorities as well, particularly around data. Data is so critical to the way we provide services proactively and efficiently. And we're sitting on vast amounts of data as a local authority, and being able to harness that and use that in the most effective way is super important to the way that we deliver our services. But of course, going back to that earlier point, automation, AI, doing more for less, digitisation, that I think really has got to be the third in that list of priorities as well.
And I suppose there's a key link there, especially between data and cyber, isn't it? 'Cause like you say, you're sat on vast amounts of data, and you've got to keep that safe.
Definitely. And, our cyber and information governance teams sit together. I think that's quite a complementary view of one another. And that supports us as well. But ensuring that data is accessible in a secure and efficient way to those that need it to deliver the services is really important. So we've invested in that area recently and are working through that.
Okay, fun. And so you talked about from your journey, moved into that business partner role to that, I suppose, that link between the business and IT. So were I suppose your journey to leadership, were there any pivotal moments or decisions that really helped you step into that senior role?
Absolutely. And, I think I want to be clear that I've been really lucky to work with some fantastic role models over the years that have stretched me, championed me, given me great opportunities. And I've also been able to see those opportunities for myself as well and reach out for those. But I think on reflection, it's really been those sink or swim moments that have been the most pivotal for me. So where I've had to really take a leap of faith and put the first foot on, on that unsteady footbridge, if you like, to move forward. And, there's a couple of areas that stick out for me. First was I worked on a huge transformation program for a large organisation, a large county council, some time ago, and that was a hugely varied role and a step into the unknown, but a great deal of opportunities really to try different things, to look at different areas of the business, to work with colleagues that I wouldn't normally have worked with, and I guess it was my first. I was quite early in my leadership role at that point, so I was learning an awful lot, and I continue to learn an awful lot. But the other second area for me really is that move into IT, and to go from a completely non-technical role into the technical space was challenging and took quite a lot of courage actually to move into that space. But, as I say, I've been lucky enough to work with some fantastic people, and I continue to do so. I always look at it as very much a team sport. So the hive mind is super important. We can all come together to deliver the best outcomes.
Oh, great. And I think bringing that business perspective into the IT role could be immensely valuable.
Definitely. I think the role of the CIO has changed enormously. Long gone are the days that it was a deeply or purely technical role. That point around stakeholder engagement, understanding the business, change management, user adoption are all really critical to the role of the CIO.
While we're on that point, the whole role of IT is evolving, and like you say, the role of the CIO, especially with the move to the cloud. How do you see that relationship between IT and the wider business changing, and what do you think is the CIO's role in making sure that technology is aligned with business priorities?
So I think IT really has to be plugged in to what's happening across the organisation. IT, digital, data, all important facilitators to any part of any organisation, but in the context of the council or local authority space. First and foremost, it's that strategic leadership, shaping the vision and aligning those investments with what the business needs, what the business priorities are. And in the local government space, there's such a huge variety in the level of services, the number of services that we provide. So, I could be talking to someone who's delivering services for children, SEND services, or waste management, or highways, or town planning, or HR. It's so varied. So being able to understand what's happening in the organisation and aligning those investments with the priorities is super important. And then, of course, you have to build in governance and management of the risks, perhaps around data, cyber security, and compliance of the services and systems that we're delivering to enable the services to deliver their priorities. But I also think we've got a role in innovation, the art of the possible, really, and being able to articulate that to the organisation. So really what's relevant to the services, user-centred design, improving all of those services that we deliver for the communities, and leveraging our partners and suppliers to deliver those ambitions cost effectively and in the best way possible. And so I think bringing that all together is that point really about effective stakeholder engagement and being able to talk to the business to understand what their priorities are and understand it from their perspective rather than solely the technical elements. And so I think some of those other areas that I've mentioned have always been part of the CIO role. But it's that alignment with the business and understanding what the stakeholders need and how to drive the solutions to those best outcomes is on the newer side of the priorities really for the CIO.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel your previous experience in marketing and communications has helped you in that?
Yeah, I think so. And understanding, I guess, stakeholder engagement and being able to unpick that. Mm-hmm. Rather than, because it can seem quite overwhelming, I think, if you think about again that breadth of services and the competing and differing priorities of the services. So being able to unpick that, identify the needs, how to engage best with certain groups, and to deliver those key messages accordingly, I think is really important. And sometimes it is really difficult to almost remember those roots because you get wrapped up in the technology space, in the role of technology. Mm-hmm. So being really conscious of that is super important, I think.
Okay. Well, while we're on your role, if you like, and experience, so you mentioned that you've worked across different roles with public sector organisations in your career. So you move in from that, if like marketing communications, and then into more IT related roles. What's your advice for people looking to move between roles and functions, be they public or private sector?
So, I think you need to be curious. And I think if you've got that sense of curiosity in you, you will find those synergies and connections and being able to talk to colleagues. And, I've worked in local government for 26 years now. I love public service. I really enjoy what it stands for. But I can honestly say almost every day I learn something new through connecting with colleagues and trying to have an understanding of what they're trying to achieve, what matters most to them and their service users. So I think I would certainly say be curious, be bold as well. Don't limit yourself. There are natural connections between particular sectors or job functions, but I never once thought that I would go from communications to working in IT, let alone be the CIO in a local authority. But it can be done. And, I think embracing the change and being willing to learn is absolutely part of that journey.
Thank you for that. So be bold and believe in yourself. You can do it.
We know our community, but we don't know yours yet. Why not share the benefits of your UK&I Sub membership with those who don't know about us? The UK&I Sub referral scheme rewards you for helping to grow and develop our community. You can check out the link in the description to find out more about how you can get involved. Terms and conditions apply. We hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast.
And on back to kind of the industry now, of public sector, public sector organisations often face unique challenges. And what have been some of the biggest you've had to tackle, and how did you approach them?
So I think one of the biggest challenges, or perhaps the biggest challenge facing all local authorities, is the financial constraints. It's huge for any local authority, as well as rising demand. So in general terms, in the local authority space, increased demand on public service is immeasurable, really. Ageing populations, rising cost of social care for adults or for children is huge, and therefore the demand on those adult and children's services. But that's only naming a few. And they're pressures that every local authority will be facing. From a technology perspective, tech developments are really outpacing the funding that we certainly have available for transformation. So we really have to select what's going to give us the biggest opportunity for the investment that's required. So being able to articulate that in a business case is a real skill, and we're learning our way in that space as the financial constraints get ever tighter. And as I mentioned before, every department is looking to transform the way they deliver services, to do more for less, to look at how they can deliver in a digital way or perhaps automate. AI is certainly the word of the moment, isn't it? The phrase of the moment. And to do more for less is a driver that I see in every single conversation that I'm having on a daily basis. And it would be remiss of me, actually, not to mention local government reform, which is a huge challenge for many local authorities who will need to consolidate and look to deliver services very differently in the future. Now, that's not something we're facing at the moment at Central Bedfordshire. We are a unitary authority, but there will be many of our neighbours that are facing some of those challenges, which are huge and all-encompassing, actually.
Mm-hmm. I can only imagine the challenges that come, and I suppose as governments change as well, different leadership puts different pressures on you, of course, and you've still got all of your customers, who's everybody living in the area that you serve. So best of luck. I suppose that's all I can offer there. Not a lot else. You mentioned that technology and carefully selecting where to invest, that you'll get, I suppose, the most bang for your buck, so to speak. And so from your perspective, how important is collaboration between organisations and technology providers like SAP?
Oh, it's really important. I like to work with our suppliers as almost an extension of the team. That strategic partnership is really important. So I expect a lot from our suppliers, but I also expect us to be good customers. And part of that is about us defining what we need carefully so that we can deliver in the most efficient way. And sometimes that needs to be explored together to understand what the art of the possible is. And of course, there's always the financial negotiation as well to have. I mean, where we've succeeded most is where we have got those strong relationships that are seen as partnerships, really. That's where we've seen the most success.
Oh, fantastic. I completely agree with you there. I think it's back to the balance in relationships. And, we recently released a podcast where we had a conversation with Simon Bacon of the QD Group, and we were talking to him about working with partners and how that relationship works and how to set yourselves up for success. And he kind of mirrored a lot of what you're saying there as well. It's that balance that, yes, you need to be a good customer as well as making sure you can get the best out of the partner, so you get the best out of each other. Definitely.
And I think maintaining an open dialogue, communicating with each other, sharing as openly as you possibly can is really important.
Thank you. And on the topic of sharing, earlier this year, you spoke at our Women in SAP event. How did that go, and what did you take away from that experience?
So, I was really thrilled to be invited to speak at that event, and it really was amazing to see so many talented colleagues from the sector. The topic was the broken rung for women in tech, which I think is a really interesting topic. But I posed the question, what if the ladder isn't broken? What if it's just pointing in the wrong direction? Because for me, moving my career from communications into the tech space was about me moving the ladder so I could continue my journey. And the topic seemed to really resonate with many colleagues in the room, and it was really interesting to hear perspectives from others. And colleagues moving from the communication space into technology is not as uncommon as you would think. There were quite a few other people in the room who were pursuing a similar journey. So I really enjoyed the day. It was great to meet so many people. And it would be remiss of me not to give a big shout out to Emma Chambers and Priscilla Chu, Libby Mason, Ruth Harrison Swift, all really great and inspirational women who were part of the day and who organised that day. It was a really enjoyable experience.
Oh, that's excellent. And I've got visions now of a huge library with a ladder with wheels on. And, if you're not in the right section, move your ladder to the right section, and so you get where you want to go and get the right book.
Exactly. About ownership and identifying those opportunities. Might just need a little nudge in a different direction.
Oh, fantastic. So you mentioned Ruth there, who obviously is with Thrive, our mental health partner. And so looking at that from a women in SAP perspective, from a neurodiverse perspective, what do you think industry can do more, perhaps, to encourage people from more diverse backgrounds and particularly more women into IT leadership?
Well, I think those of us in the sector should be as visible as we possibly can. It's an area that I really like to champion, I really like to talk about. And, I'm often asked to speak at events, and I choose them quite carefully. But where there's an opportunity and a platform to promote the positivity, really, around women in tech, I really like to get involved. And, I think you often hear people say, well, there was no one that looked like me in that room. And I've experienced that myself, whether it's on a relatively small Teams call or whether it's in a room of cybersecurity professionals. women do still tend to be in the minority in the tech space. So I think, collectively we need to make some noise, champion each other and helping each other to succeed and opening doors for each other. But I do think we also need to be tactical in our approach. So, it's, I guess, the simple things really. Are we advertising roles in the right way, using the right language and in the right channels? And I would encourage everyone to really challenge their perceptions and encourage your own flexibility. And that might be around working patterns, or even when you advertise a role, really, to encourage a diverse range of applicants is something that we can all do. And I think going back to the event from earlier on in the year, it was quite inspirational, really, to feel that everyone was pulling in the same direction and wanting to see change for the good.
Fantastic, thank you. And so while we're talking about those diversity and careers, for those at the beginning of their careers, what advice would you give on building skills and confidence?
Right. So I'm often asked similar questions, actually, and I just don't. There's really no secret to it. I think for me, it's about working really hard. Put your hand up, take on new challenges, but don't be afraid to say, I'd love to work on X. How can you help me succeed? Mm-hmm. I think most people in a leadership role would really welcome that challenge and being able to help someone that's perhaps earlier on in their career. And I think it almost starts to snowball. So as you succeed and you achieve, your confidence grows. So look at what's going on around you, as well as work hard, but also be persistent, because there will be people along the way that say, I'm not sure you're ready for that. I'm not sure you can do that. But have that self-belief and be persistent if you do ever face those sorts of comments or knockbacks.
Well, thank you. And finally, as we come to a close, if you looked into your crystal ball, what do you think will be the biggest change or changes we'll see in business and IT in the next few years?
Wow. I sometimes wish I did have a crystal ball, but
would
sadly,
help, wouldn't it?
It absolutely would help. I think it goes back to some of those priorities that I was speaking about earlier. Cyber security is going to continue to change and evolve, and being able to respond to the ever-growing sophistication of attack. So that is an area of change. Of course, AI, automation, transformation. We're going to have the ability to automate more and more routine tasks. But that, of course, brings with it a new set of challenges around ethics, bias, etc. And so our ability to balance that AI journey, the innovation, with governance and risk is really important. And I think also the talent and skills gap for us is going to be a change that we will continue to see evolve and develop as demand for the cybersecurity, AI expertise, particularly in government and local authorities, is going to be a big change. So really, I think upskilling and inclusive recruitment is a big area of development for us. And then sustainability as well, as pressure grows to reduce our carbon footprints, drive demand around energy efficiency, driving costs down, etc. So I think there's a number of changes, but perhaps in the direction that we are seeing already.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. Emel, Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, for your insights. Really do appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me. It's been really good fun.
Oh, that's excellent. Oh, good to hear. So there you go. If you would like to push yourself forward and be on the podcast and really promote yourself, please do. Drop us a line. We'll gladly have a conversation with you. So you heard it here. Thank you, Emel. And to our listeners, thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and found it valuable. And please make sure you do hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future episodes. And until the next time, stay safe, stay well, and believe in yourself.